Hey everybody, I wanted to start making a series of videos as I work on my Thunderbird because there's very little to no YouTube videos or really information online as far as trim things go, or really for the most part how any sort of mechanical thing or whatever on the Thunderbird. There's very little information to find online. So as I'm doing things, I'm just going to try to do short little videos, so that way, you know, if somebody searches it, hopefully they can find my video and see a couple of helpful hints and tips and tricks and stuff. So I'm working on taking my dash apart so I can take out my heater box. And so first, if you start off with this top cowl part, if you can see through the glass here, on either side there's a screw, Phillips screw, well, at least on mine. Now they obviously put those screws in, they obviously finished the dash in the factory before they put the windshield on, because you cannot get to these even with like one of those 90-degree screwdrivers. I don't have one to show. Anyway, so what I did is I just took a bit here and clamped it down in some vice grips, and then you can just kind of get in there and slowly work it out. But yeah, this one in particular was really tight, and they're just self-tappers. So I think in the factory they just throw it on wherever kind of thing, you know, because they're not even symmetrical. They are a little bit, but not like, definitely not a pre-drilled hole. And anyway, so then the next thing is, if you don't have to use this, but especially if you're trying to, you know, not scratch or anything, you can get these plastic trim removal tools. And if you're doing any sort of body work or trim work, you know, like any sort of chrome trim or whatever, these are really handy. I don't remember how much I paid for the set, but I bought these at Canadian Tire. But that'll give you the ability to really, you know, make easy work of things. So once you get those two screws out, then you can kind of start working it onto the front side here. And you'll see, mine came up really easy, but you can see as you work along, there's little metal one-way tabs kind of that slip in there, and then that whole dash piece will come out. And so I'm going to finish taking it out, and it's pretty self-explanatory, you know. I just started in the middle, and you can kind of work out, and then from there you'll have screws on the back side of this top dash part, and those need to come out. And I guess depending on how far you're going, you might find it easy to take. You'll probably find it easiest to take your pillar trim off here, which is just screws and the same. A lot of this stuff will have the same clip style thing. So yeah, again, these trim tools will come in really handy. And I guess one other thing I could mention is the cover. So the cover here for the glove compartment, just underneath, I took it off obviously, but there's a hinge, and then the hinge attaches to the bottom, and there's three 5/16 bolts that just come through. You may have mine was not connected anymore, but somebody had run looks like a ground wire to one of those bolts, so I don't know if that was aftermarket or whatever that is. So you may have that. And I guess depending on what you're doing, you may need to find somewhere else to put that or whatever. In my case, I obviously don't need it because it's not there right now. Okay, so I got this front part of the dash off. Hopefully there's enough light in there to see. But see that loop thing? So basically that's just a solid fixed loop, and it slips into like a friction fit channel there. So that's what holds the front end in. And aside from that, this will all just pop out, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so when it comes to this piece here, that one slips over top of your cowl trim. And then mine was already out, but you should have another screw back there that this piece will just slip off. I've already torn out my headliner in the past, so that piece slips out. Just set that down. And then you could probably work it out without it, but this piece should probably come off, just so you don't, you know, nothing gets damaged. Let's see here. So there's screws all the way along here. So I don't think this one's probably clipped at all. I think it's all fastened by screws. And then once you get that out, if you've removed the other fasteners, so there's one down here that I already took out. And aside from that, this whole piece will just kind of pop off from one of the sides. So you'll kind of just have to figure out the easiest way for you to take yours off. And then the other side will obviously be a repeat. You can see there's another screw on that side. And from there, we'll go into the dash. Okay, so once you got all those top and side pieces off and you got the screw out, this actually just comes out from the side. So if you grab it by the window and then just kind of pry it down a little bit, it'll pop right out. Or it should. Let's see. There we go. So yeah, that just comes out like that. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is on either side of the dash, there's these little cover panels. So I'm going to pop those off. Okay, so one thing that you'll have to take off is this vent, all the vents and whatnot. I already took my driver's side off some time ago. Now these knobs here are supposed to just pull right off. And sometimes what happens though is because they're supposed to be like a tight fit, but on some of them you actually have to be able to pull the rod inside to actuate certain things. So sometimes they'll come loose and then people will like glue them in there, which I think is what happened on the other side, because that one was really hard to get off. I almost broke it getting it off, but they should just slip off. And at least, so this is what Ford is. And then typically what happens is these things will unscrew. Actually, that one doesn't. I don't know. These ones might just come straight out. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So these ones all just pull up. And oops, careful. I lost the retainer sleeve inside that one. So that'll go in there. So once you get that out, you'll kind of be able to pull these out. I'm going to just make sure that this one comes out the way the other one did, but that's basically you just have to work it out and then flex it around these vent things here. Yeah, so how this works is you got to basically work it out from this end. If you it won't really come from that end first because it hits the steering wheel column, and basically it just kind of unclips from the vents behind it, and that will all come out. So these vents just slip in there, but it might be a little tight. That's what it looks like behind there. Pretty cool. Alright, so basically the next steps are to work around the whole perimeter of the dash. Now mine is a lot more disassembled than yours would be, say you were starting from scratch, like with nothing taken off. So hopefully this is still helpful. But basically, you know, once you have your vents out, anything that's attached to the dash needs to come loose and just kind of hang down, probably would be the best, just to kind of let it hang there. And because when your dash moves away, you know, obviously all your things need to be loose. So anything that's holding it on, so the bolts like this, and eventually all the bolts up in the dash. So from what I can tell, this all looks like it's actually like bonded. So it's not like the plastic pieces are loose on top. They're actually bonded to the metal frame. So the whole thing will come loose. And so basically, those all need to come out. I was having a really hard time getting these ones out. They won't back out all the way, so that's gonna cause a little bit of a problem potentially. So, but yeah, that's basically what it is. Same thing here. Take out any loose. My car actually had a lot of stuff already loose. I think somebody was already things back out over time, and somebody was also tinkering things. And then also underneath, let's see, can we see that bracket there? That top bolt will have to come out. So basically just work around the dash, and you know, we're learning together. I haven't done this before, so I'll kind of show you as I go what else needs to come off. Okay, so when you go to take the ignition plate, I'll call it, when you go to take that off, this first the ignition is going to be coming through this hole. So there's this ring here, so you want to use a screwdriver or whatever to carefully drive this counterclockwise till it unscrews. It's just threaded. And then this piece here that's also going through, and I don't actually know what this is. If anybody does, comment it. I don't think it's like any anti-theft thing, but I honestly don't know. I think it might be just a light for the key, but it's hard to say. I'm not sure. Regardless, though, so just behind there's one little screw. I put it back in, but that little screw holds the plate in, and then this whole thing will just slip out. So it's just really self-explanatory once you take that ring off. All right, so to remove the instrument panel cover, at the top of each hole or each gauge, there's a screw, and then this corner one is just off to the side, but towards the top end. And then if you can just kind of gently grab it here, maybe I had to actually use pliers to break it loose, but do what you can, what you need. And then this whole piece will just slide off. Should slide out. It's kind of hanging up on something there, but that whole piece will slide out. And then from there, I'll see what needs to come off to get the next step done. Okay, so to take this off, the plate is in two pieces. The black piece that goes over top of the yellow, but there'll be perimeter bolts, the 1/4 inch, that go all the way around. And then in a few spots you may have these little where is it? There it is, that little push clip. There's a few of those in a few spots that'll need to come out. And then here on the clock, the adjustment, I'll show you. There's a this piece goes over, that's the little dial you turn, but then there's this little screw that goes inside there, little teeny flat blade. So you need a really small screwdriver to back that out, or like a knife blade or something. And then once that's out, this whole dash, or the whole cover, so it's not actually the instruments themselves. So I'm just gonna put these in my container there, and let's see if we can pop this off. Yeah, that's cool. So I'm finding out here that the dash lights must have been blue on this car, I think, which is really cool. I wonder if I don't know if all Thunderbirds came like that or not, but on my car here, this is a 68 Thunderbird, and it came with what appears to be blue lights, so I'd be curious. My 1974 F100 had like what do we call it, like an opaque light? I don't know if that's the right term, but it was like a greenish light. It was really pretty, but yeah, I'm curious if anybody knows, like if you have a Thunderbird, let me know what color your dash lights are. I'm cool to find out if they had more than one option. Okay, so obviously you want to be very careful with this stuff because it's very sensitive and delicate, but this is your speedometer here. So, and I don't know if I'm doing this technically the right way. As far as I know, I am, but there's 4 kind of brass colored screws to take out, and then it'll just pull right away from your speedometer cable there. And so yeah, just be careful with this because there's, you know, a lot that could break. Okay, so once you got up to the last step there, the 2 little metal retaining plates that go here, just back those off, and there's little notches, so they only go one way. So but just remember which way they go in case you're bad at figuring it out later. But then to get this guy off, it slips on, and there's actually a little catch on the back I figured out. So what you do, just up here, so there's this part, let's see if that'll focus. There's this rib part here. I don't think that really has anything to do with much, as far as I can tell. There's nothing that it like slips into, so I don't really know for sure what that is. Because nothing on this outside should be rotating. So I'm not really sure. Hopefully I'm not messing with anything. But anyway, so to pop this off so you can actually get the dash piece out, just on these little tangs here, just slip a small screwdriver underneath them. There's a little gap there. Let me see if I can show you. And this rubber grommet just goes on the outside of the piece. Let's see if I can show you. So basically take a small screwdriver and just kind of gently push it through as you're pulling on the piece that was on the front, and it just popped out for me. So it's just kind of like a clip, like almost like an electrical clip kind of style. Okay, and then once you have that, the last one is this electrical connector. So if you just push these little tabs out, that'll come out, unclip from the back, and then you should be able to slide the piece kind of out the side like this. You may have to drop your gear shifter down if it won't work, but that should be the last step to taking the instrument cluster out. Okay, the last one is a little difficult to get to. Basically, like the other ones, you pull the knob off, then there's an inner ring, you pull that off, and then you got to go behind it, and there's a bracket that has a 1/4 inch bolt at the top and the bottom. You got to remove those, and there's also some connectors. It's really hard for me to show you. I could probably, I don't know if you can see that in there or not, but I can also come from here. That's not so bad. Yeah, so that metal plate, there's a bolt at the top and the bottom. It is hard to get at, but it is possible. Especially, I think it's, you know, it's easy now that everything else is out. It would be almost impossible to do that first. So I don't know if I just happened to do that the right way, but yeah, it obviously is probably supposed to come out last, you know, if you looked at the tech manual or something. So now that that's out, that'll remove. And there's just one connector left there. But yeah, so this controls of the wiper and also your vents. So like, I'm not going to be running any sort of heat in my car. So, but I will need, I know to pass inspection, I'll certainly need wipers and washers, or wiper washer. So I'll be keeping at least part of it. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the gauge or not. Okay, so one thing to also take loose is the fuse box here. So there's just a screw in either corner, and that'll hang loose there. Okay, so I almost got it out. It's definitely a challenge. I'm not too happy with their engineering on this. I think they could have made it a little easier. But anyways, two fastening points that I didn't notice until, you know, it kind of gave me a struggle. But there's one that I missed under here. Let's see, can we focus on this? Yeah, so right down the steering column, just to the left side, right in here, there's one that was kind of binding it up. And then also, let's see if we can get in here. Where are we? Okay, so right here, right up in here, on either side of the steering column, where the dash mold, it bolts through. So there's two nuts that come off. Now mine didn't want to come off easily. It's like a stud and a nut. I think the whole stud is supposed to come out, but it didn't, so that made it a little more difficult. But I almost got it out, I think. Now as you take it out, just, you know, keep your eye out, because there's going to be random wires here or there that are attached to the back of it. And so just to keep that in mind. Okay, so I ended up having to take the steering wheel off to get the dash out. So here's how to pull a steering wheel on a 6-8 Thunderbird, at least on this particular model. It might be a little different depending on what trim model you have. But so this one didn't have any cruise or anything like that. So that center section there is just like a foam piece. And all you have to do to take that off is you go behind it. There's two screws that hold that on. And then from there, find a steering wheel pulley that works, that's, you know, the right size to fit. This one is a OEM brand from Canadian Tire, and it was just right. So takes the fine thread bolts, bolt them in. There's two bolts, top and bottom. So how this works is the bolts grab here, and then you push against this, and it pops the steering wheel off. So just make sure when you put it in that if your bolts, you know, one hole might be a little deeper than the other one, so just make sure that your thing is sitting relatively straight, and so adjust your bolts a little bit if you need. But try to make sure they're grabbing as much as possible, and then yeah, just tighten it down. So this just comes down really easy. this one came off really easy. It's just sitting there. One thing I need to mention though is before you take it off, either take a picture or take a you know, make mental note of exactly where it is, you know, so if it's a little off or whatever, so that way when you put it back, it's not the end of the world if you're a little bit off, but you want to be pretty close, because, you know, if you're too far off, then you're going to lose steering to one side kind of thing. Well, actually no, that's a lie. You wouldn't, but you know, you'd have to go adjust your track bar to get it, you know, to get your steering wheel aligned. So anyways, just try to put it back kind of where it was. And yeah, so this one, the horn, there's no wires connected to it. So the horn here, I think when you push the level, this is how the horn works on this, is you push it and it honks, right? So I think what happens is it just connects it, you know, connects the having a brain moment here, but it connects the connection. We'll say that. So so there's actually no wires, so that just slips on and off, and then there's like two little pushy things here. So I think that when you push that, it pushes those and it connects the circuit. There we go, the circuit. That's the word I'm looking for. So that's how that works. It's pretty easy. And from there, there's some different trim pieces and such to come off. But that's how you take the steering wheel off. Okay, so I finally got everything out. It's definitely hard doing it by yourself. So if you have an extra set of hands to help you, you know, one person on each side kind of thing. A couple of things that I didn't notice until I was already taking it out, and then I was really fighting with it because I didn't realize this. But so the one thing I didn't really think of is this wiring harness here, this big fat one. That attaches to the back side here. So, you know, once you've stripped everything, go ahead. You should be able to access everything. So before you try to like actually, you know, pop the bumper off or the dash off, loosen all those. And then in the corner here, there's just a few lights here. This one was attached and that one was attached. And then on the other side here, there's a ground cable. What for, I'm not sure, but anyway, so that was attached here. So I mean, I tried my best to get everything ahead of time, so there's I mean, there's so much stuff here, it's just insane. Like, I know, you know, it is a pretty fancy car for its age, but I'm surprised how much stuff there is, even for an old car like this. So, but anyways, yeah, so I guess to give a little teaser on my plans. So now that I have everything out, I'm basically going to go through and do my best to gut everything that I don't need. So any sort of heating or ducting stuff's going to come off. That blower motor is going to come off. And then I'm going to, the whole reason I did this was to try to get to the heater box. So the heater core, heater box kind of deal. So anyway, so while I'm here, but I already took off the radio that was hanging there, and just that, I didn't weigh it, but this thing here, like, honestly is probably a solid 5 pounds at least. And so, you know, I'm getting rid of that. The ductwork, obviously, it doesn't weigh that much, but anyways, so it's finally out now. Hope that helped. Hopefully that'll give you a little bit easier of a time if you need to take yours apart. Thankfully, almost all the wiring is quick disconnect. So, but again, yeah, I think, you know, having somebody to help you would just help a lot, because it made it a little bit difficult trying to do it myself. So anyways, thanks for watching.